Yes, family, so Eazi's back again with another convo, yeah, or another build, you know. And this Eazi's decided that he wants to talk about the relationship between electricity and the human body, yeah. I'm going to talk about how the body works, the whole body systems and certain systems. And I'm going to talk about every system, but the main system that I broke down before, so you have a clearer understanding of how everything in our body, everything in existence is in a form of what we call electrical, yeah, currents, yeah, you know, and this form is what you call atoms, yeah. So everything in this universe, including this earth, is made up of atoms, yes, except energy, yeah. So, but everything is in a form of atoms, yeah. Atoms is the smallest part of what we have is molecules, and then molecules, elements, and etc. Yeah, molecules is basically a component of two or more atoms. Yeah. So what is within an atom now? Atoms is what we have is protons, electrons, and neutrons. Yeah. So let me just draw it out for you, just have a clearer understanding. Yeah. So with this field and this protons, neutrons, and electrons, we have different electrical charges. Yeah, these are all electrical charges. Yeah, you know, an electrical circuit, I would say. Yeah, and then if you have the understanding of how circuit works and how electricity is formed, I'm gonna draw it out for you now. So electricity is formed where a negative and a positive charge, yeah, is connected via what we are trying to light up, which is, for example, a light bulb. Negative at the top, no, positive at the top, negative at the bottom, yeah. And then we have a loop which we always break, yeah, a breaking point to switch on and off, yeah. So this is how electricity currents work, yeah. This is an electrical circuit, yeah, a basic one. This is a basic understanding of how we can create electricity, yeah. You can use batteries and etc to light up whatever you need to light up, yeah. This switch button is the barrier in between those connections, yeah, that button there. So once that button is pressed and it's and it connects the circuit, the loop, it fires up and sends light to the bulb, yeah. So this is the basic quick understanding of how electricity works, yeah. So we go back to what we call the atoms, yeah. Atoms has got the positive and negative charge within the atom, yeah. You got the electrons, the protons, and the neutrons, yeah. So now I'm going to bring it back to a system that I use to break down how molecules and atoms and protons and electrons work, yeah, where I was talking about how the respiratory system works, yeah, the cellular respiratory system, yeah, and where how we breathe in what we called air, you know. Air is accompanied with different aspects of molecules like nitrogen and pollution, etc. And you got oxygen, yeah. Oxygen is a molecule because it's made up of two atoms, yeah, molecule O2, yeah. So O2 gets inhaled and via what we call the olfactory system, yeah, and then and then it gets into what you call the respiratory tract and down into what you call the Broca's area. Your Broca's area gets pushed down into what you call your alveoli balls, yeah. Your alveoli balls break down these molecules now, yeah, into what we call atoms, creating negative and positive charge atoms. Now this is where I was talking about the free radicals, yeah, because free radicals is positive charge electrons, yeah, atoms, yeah. Positive, because this is where a little bit of an understanding that you need to see is positive, and then there's a negative charge atoms, yeah, positive and negative, yeah. So what are positive ions and what is negative ions, yeah? So positive ions are what you call cation, yeah. Cation, positive ions, yeah. This is where you have more protons and electrons, yeah. And negative ions, yeah, is what we called anon, yeah. Anon, yeah. And this is where you have more electrons than protons, yeah. So more electrons than protons, electrons than protons, perceived as a negative atom, and a positive has the more protons than electron, yeah? That is a positive atom, yeah? Then electron, yeah? So that's how it works, yeah? And this is what it's called. It's called a cation and an anion, yeah? So the anion's got the negative, yeah? And the cation's got the positive, yeah? But then this is where it might deceive you, because you might think the positive ions will benefit you and the negative ions do you damage, which you would be wrong, because it's the other way around, yeah? The negative ions is what we have, the antioxidants, yeah? And the cation, this is the positive ions, is what causes what we call free radicals, yeah? Because there's more protons than electrons in the cation ion, yeah? Or the cation atom, it will find its way. It's what you call the free radical. And what does free radicals do? It goes around and snatching electrons, because electrons need to be paired, yeah? And this is what you call, this is the cause of when molecules and compounds get split, yeah? It causes cation and anions, yeah? Atoms, yeah? And if cation atoms is present, then you know we've got a free radical that's going around to snatching electrons from other cells and etc. to stabilize their atom, you know? And then that's when it will cause damage to a cell. So we know how that works. They're taking electron current because of the charge, yeah? The negative charge, yeah? It pulls on to thingy. So that's how it goes when it comes to the respiratory or the cellular respiration, yeah? So now we're going, so now we know that these ions get picked up via what we called the bloodstream, yeah? The bloodstream, yeah? Or the blood cells, yeah? The red blood cell, what the red blood cells have, they have what you called with inside the cell, you have the hemoglobin. The hemoglobin has got the iron, yeah? The iron, the Fe2, yeah? The Fe2, and what and the outside layer is what you call the polypeptides, yeah? Which is protein. The hemoglobin's got the protein around it, and then with inside there you got the Fe2, which is the iron. The iron has a positive charge to it, so it picks up oxygen atoms, yeah? So it picks up oxygen atoms, yeah? And this is how the transporting of oxygen to your cell, your cellular functioning works, yeah? So via the iron, yeah, positive charge, it picks up the charges of oxygen atoms, yeah? And another thing that might be a little bit deceitful, that you might think, because negative and positive go together, when it comes to cellular functions and cell and electrical reactions and chemical reactions, yeah, it's not always a positive and negative charge. That, like, for example, in the red blood cell, yeah, you have the hemoglobin, which is the protein, and you got the Fe2, which is the iron, yeah, which is positive, yeah, but it picks up what we called the negative and the positive atoms of oxygen, yeah? But just because of just for the fact that it's surrounded by protein, regardless if it's a positive ion, yeah, it will pick up a positive ion oxygen molecule, atom, yeah, and then it will transport it to the destination. So this is how it works. I'm going to break it down when it comes to the neurons as well. But this is how it might be a little bit confusing. That's why you need to understand a little bit of the cation and ion and how it works, and how these electrical charges work with each other, because the protein could have a negative charge to it, and because it's the larger component of the cell, it would automatically cause a negative charge, making the positive oxygen ion attached to the positive ion atom or molecule within the hemoglobin, yeah? So it transported it to wherever it needs to go through the transportation of the red blood cells. and the distance that it goes, it creates a negative charge. And then when the ion creates a negative charge from a positive charge, the positive oxygen ion falls off, yeah, fell off, because it needs a negative charge for it to stick together, yeah. So that's how it works. So it falls off, and then the cells picks it up via receptors, or more what we call ion channels, yeah. Ion channels are different channels that opens up. Every cell has a membrane, lipids, yeah. Lipids is fats, that's the cell wall, yeah. And inside the cell wall, you have what you call ion channels. All different cells have different ion channels, but it's the same principle. You open up when to cause what you called electrical current, or electrical or chemical reaction. It will open up to certain ions, and then this is where chemical reactions occur. So in the red blood cells, this is how it works, yeah. The positive ion picks up the positive or negative charge oxygen atom, yeah, and takes it to the destination where the cells can pick it up via receptors or other ion channels, yeah. So now we're going to push a little bit more into how it works with the neurons, yeah, because we know that neurons generate electrical currents, yeah. For example, action potential. And then as I broke it down in my last video about the neurons, it's the same principle, with the fact that where we have sodium ions, yeah, and what we call potassium ions, creating what we call the actual potential within the neuron axon, yeah. So, and even up to the synapse, yeah, this is all ion channels. So every cell and everything in our body has ion channels, and they pick up ions, yeah, electrical charges to create action potential or chemical reactions or mechanical reactions. This is how it works, yeah. So this is give you a little bit of understanding of how the system works, yeah. So as we know about the neurons and how messages get sent from the synapse to the dendrites, yeah, and how the actual potential occurs, because remember, at at neutral base, the threshold is about -55, yeah, and then for it to hit actual potential, it has to go past +45 for it to hit actual potential, yeah. This is where enough electrical current is made, and then the message get pushed from the synapse all the way to the dendrites, yeah. So this is how it works, yeah. And even up to the fact, so this is all how the power system of how your brain functions, yeah. This is all ions that have to be generated for your thinking process, yeah. We're talking about the main computer, which is the powerhouse, which is your brain, yeah. Majority of the carbohydrates that get that you consume gets fueled, it gets broken down into ions and used as fuel for the brain, yeah. This is how the brain generates electrical currents and all the functions that it needs to do for it to operate, you know. And then it goes all the way back to what we call, even up to muscular function, where we got, instead of the hemoglobin, we got the myoglobin, yeah, which in the muscle cells, which picks up the oxygen via the same principle which had the cells pick up the oxygen from. This is all ions, yeah, that I'm talking about. This is all electrical currents that generate actual potentials and even produce energy. So the ions, so the ion channel, though, the oxygen ion channel get picked up by the gateway of the gateways, the ion gateways, and then it uses in the mitochondria to produce what we call APT. APT creates another chemical reaction, and then it produces what we call oxygen, and then the end result is carbon dioxide, which gets picked up by the same red blood cells that travel it all the way back to your alveoli, and this is how you breathe out oxygen, yeah. So with the neurons, yeah, with when it comes to the synapse delivering the neuron transmitters, it opens up what we called ion channels, yeah. The ion channels and the neuron transmitters are different types of ions that get pushed through, and then creates a threshold, yeah, which is called a stimuli, which gives a threshold to the acts on, and which causes the actual potential, and then it pushes the message all the way straight towards your dendrites. Yeah, so this is how the neuron works. This is how your brain works. So there's a lot of electricity currents and activity working within the areas of what you call your brain. Like I said, 20% of the carbohydrates that get used and get converted into glucose gets used by your brain. Yeah, so this is how your powerhouse uses all the ion channels and etc. So now we're going to go a little bit more into what we call the taste buds, yeah, the gustatory system. So the gustatory system and how you taste is the same principle. Yeah, foods get breaking down by the first part of the digestive system, which is your tongue, your mouth, yeah, and the enzymes like amylase get produced, and the breaking down process of the molecules to atoms would occur, yeah. And then what we know, we got the fungi form, and we got the folate form, and you got the other papillae, yeah, that helps pick up these nutrients, yeah, and trap them into what we called our taste buds, yeah. The taste bud hair picks them up, like the same way that the villi picks up the taste bud hairs, because the same principle with the ion channels, yeah. So certain tastes have a specific ion that generates the conception of the taste. So salty tastes in food produces ion channels. This is how you perceive the taste of salty, and it goes etc. with the sweet and the sour and the umami and etc. Yeah, and then it causes what we called the ion channels to open up in what you called the taste buds, and then the message gets sent into your basal, and it gets sent all the way through your main three systems that I was talking about, the cranial nerve system and etc. Yeah, the glossary pharyngeal system. Yeah, so these are the systems that you can taste, and how ions determines the tastes of your food. Yeah, it all comes down to what we call electrical currents. Yeah, and then even up to the smells and how chemical reactions works in the olfactory system, and how those olfactory hairs pick them up and sends those signals. These are all ions that get picked up. Molecules that have electrical charges get picked up, and then it sends the message into your brain. Yeah, your brain fires more electrical currents. So everything in your body functions under electrical charges. Same with the digestive system, and how your food get break down to what we call chyme, and then it goes into what you call your first part of your small intestines, which is the duodenum, and then the jejunum and the ileum. This is all small little ions, particles that get picked up by a villi and then pushed into your bloodstream and etc. And this is how cells pick them up, because it has to be small particles. We're talking about nanometers, you know. So this is how the ions, and this is how your body conducts electricity. This is how your body works with electricity. Yeah, and that's a little bit of a basic understanding of how these systems works. Yeah, and it goes all the way down to the microbiome. Yeah, where your microbiome speaks to other bacteria through biofilms. Yeah, this is another wave signals where they send where they send atoms. Yeah, atoms, which is another form of neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters is messages, and then this is how it works. So everything that we see and what we perceive and what we taste and what we eat, it has to be broken down in smaller forms, which is called atoms, that creates electrical currents and electrical charges that sends the messages to where we call our via our brain, through our central nervous system, peripheral nervous systems, or whatever systems that we have. All of our body functioning runs on what we call electrical currents. Yeah, so this is how the electrical coexist and have to be very relevant when it comes to our dietary. So now, how do we make sure that we get these ions into our dietary? There's foods that consist of what we call high ionized foods. Yeah, we know that certain foods have high potential ions, hydrogen ions. Yeah, pH level. These are the ions that have high potential of hydrogen ions. Yeah, but we need to look a little bit more into what we call electrolytes. Now electrolytes is what we have is potassium, sodium, yeah, magnesium, and chlorine. Yeah, these are electrolytes. Electrolytes are a substance that can dissolve into electrical charges within water. So picking up electrolyte water, coconut water's got high in electrolytes. They're beneficial for your body. Your cells utilize it, your neurons utilize these ions. Yeah, sodium ions, we know that they get picked up by the neurons. So sodium and potassium that produce what we call actual potential. So we know that coconut water is high in sodium and abundance in what we call potassium. So we know that drinking those type of fluids is beneficial for the neurons, very beneficial for the brain. We know that electrolytes are in nuts as well. So all these forms, but when it comes to the electrolytes, the best form you want to get it to get it in is the liquid form. Liquid form, where you're drinking all the electric currents directly before they're breaking down into electric currents if you're eating it via food. So drinks like coconut water, electrolyte water, fulvic acid water, etc. These will all help with the electrical current. Everything is electrical. Your body moves, your muscle cells move in electrical. Your bacteria, your immune system, all electrical functioning. So this is the easy basic understanding of how electrolytes, you can find them in herbs, build. I hope you understand it, and then understand and appreciate the fact of the science I brought down, and the food that feeds your cells, your muscles, your brains, and etc. And find a way to utilize it a little bit more. Yeah, so that's Eazi's build.